This is Jay Cairelli, Public Works Director, here to present requests for authorization to borrow from the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. This presentation was supposed to occur on February 19th, but the regular time for the meeting ran out and this presentation was not able to be made. Council did set the public hearing for this request for March 19th and then requested that a video be made of the presentation for their consideration before the public hearing. So what we are requesting is consideration for authorization to borrow $2.31 million through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. This money would be used for water service line identification and replacement throughout the city to ensure compliance with the new EPA lead and copper rule, which passed on October 16th, 2024. The purpose of this rule was to ensure public health by reducing the risk of lead exposure in our drinking water. We've never found a lead service in Lebanon, but according to the rule, galvanized iron that may include a leaded connection needs to be replaced as well, and we do have some of those. In order to submit the full application to NHDES, they're requiring a council resolution and authorization for the city manager to spend the funds. So that is what we're here requesting. Under the new rule, a couple other changes coming along with that. There's a new action level for lead. Currently it's 15 parts per billion, but taking effect in 2027, that will be reduced to 10 parts per billion. We've never had a problem meeting the lead and copper rule and don't anticipate one in the future, but it's one change that was included. Also beginning in 2027, municipalities need to replace at least 10% of the lines affected by this rule each year, completing full replacement by 2037. If we are successful in our application to NHDES for these funds, we'll have 5 years once receiving the loan to spend the money and complete these replacements. And we will have about 7 years after that to do anything further that's identified as part of this project. Or will be done, that remains to be seen. If residents decide not to replace their service lines, the city will be responsible for issuing them an annual notice to each household that's affected, warning them of the potential for lead exposure. Should City Council approve this request, we would be among the first communities in New Hampshire to take advantage of this loan opportunity. Currently, the loan forgiveness rate is 71%. This is a required project, so by law it needs to be done. If we do not take advantage of the loan forgiveness being offered today, the percentage is expected to drop by 5% next year, according to DES, and each round after that until there's no more funds available at all. The risk of not taking this loan now is that we will be on the hook for more or the entire cost of the project in the future if we do not complete it under this round of loan applications. If we don't complete all the work within the specified time period by 2037, we will face an administrative order by the US EPA requiring that the work be done anyways, and it will be at our cost. This will be similar to what happened with the CSO projects. So we want to avoid that mistake moving forward. There's no tax implications to this. This will be solely on the Water Enterprise Fund, but we want to take advantage of this if we can. So 3 pieces to the project for the money being requested by NHDES. $1.8 million in construction costs. That includes identification and replacement of lines. So even though identification doesn't seem like construction, that is how DES is telling us to apply for the loan. $360,000 in construction contingency. If we find something out there that we don't expect to find, which always happens, or if prices fluctuate, which they tend to do, and $150,000 in engineering and planning costs. Right now, our engineering estimate is service lines are $7,500 average on the city side and on the residential side. The way it works in Lebanon, there's typically a water main in the street, and the city owns from that water main to the curb stop or water shutoff for the household or business, whatever it might be, and then the property owner owns from the curb stop to the house. So the two different sides, city responsibility and resident responsibility. Currently, for what we have identified, which we do not expect much change in the further identification we need to do, there's 102 identified galvanized lines on the residential side and 24 on the city side. So what that means for a resident at 71% loan forgiveness of $7,500, they would be responsible for $2,175 if they are to pay for it. The model that most communities are looking at for this work that everybody across the state and the country needs to do. Most people are proposing to put a lien on the property so that if it's sold, the bill will go to the new owner. And then incorporating the cost of this into their regular water bill. Ours are quarterly, so it would be a quarterly charge. At 71% forgiveness, it'll be total of $2,175 they're required to pay, and that will be over a 20-year loan period. It equates to about $35 per quarter with interest. They have the option of paying that up front if we do go with that model, or they can pay for it over the 20-year time period. So the next steps that we're going to have to take with or without the loan, we have some potholing to do. We take our vac truck or hire a contractor to use a vac truck to suck out around the curb stop. That allows us to see the city side of the water service and the residential side of the water service to identify the materials. We have to take a picture, sign the affidavit. We were there at this time at this place. We took the picture, identified the material, send that to the state, and that counts as identification. 554 on the city side. On the residential side, it's 569. Some of those we can identify by potholing curb stops. Some of them are only on the residential side. So the way that we're hoping to identify most of those is to get into the business or building or residence and identify the service line material where it comes through the wall. And again, take a picture, sign an affidavit that we were there at this date and time, and this is what we found. Once that's done, we'll know everything that needs to be done. We don't expect the number to change from 126 that much. So step 3 would be to actually start replacing those lines. That would be done by a contractor. So what this means for the residents in total and for the city, 102 service lines that are on the residential side, total of $765,000 at 71% loan forgiveness is $221,800. City side, city required part of this project, $1.5 million in 20-year loan is the way we would do it. 71% loan forgiveness, it's $446,300. So it ends up being about $25,000 per year. Part of our operating budget this year, we had already put in $50,000 for potholing. That would be eligible for 71% loan forgiveness as well, even though we already planned to do it. So that would come directly out of the operating budget, be paid for, and then we would be reimbursed 71% for that. So it's money that we had expected to spend already that we would not need to. Couple more things about this, a little bit of a recap. 71% loan forgiveness. This is the only time that we will get that much. Next year, it's expected to drop by 5% and eventually cease entirely. So we definitely want to take advantage of this now. Again, this is just like what happened with the CSOs in the very beginning. There was a lot of principal forgiveness offered. City didn't take advantage of that, and then we ended up needing to pay for the whole bill after an administrative order was passed by the EPA. So we are trying to avoid that. Interest rate right now for the 20-year loans, 3.072%. pretty low as far as interest rates go. So definitely a good time for that reason to apply for this as well. Again, no future loans are guaranteed at all. It is expected to drop by 5% next year, but that's not guaranteed either. It could be more if more communities do apply for this early. And we'd be paying for this over the 20-year period. What we need approval for, we want to stay in compliance with the EPA and NHDES rules. This is going to be required to be done in either case, so we certainly want to take advantage of the loan forgiveness while we can. Obviously, part of this is the health and safety piece of it and trying to reduce the risk of lead exposure in drinking water. We do not have a problem with that in Lebanon, but nationwide, people are seeing it in other places. So when the rule passed earlier, towards the end of last year, big impact on some municipalities that have lots of lead in the ground have had trouble meeting the rule. We are not one of those. We will not have a problem meeting the new rule, but it was a blanket law that impacts everyone that is on a public water system. So next steps to complete this project, hopefully we receive authorization from council to borrow the $2.31 million through the Drinking Water SRF Fund. We will first complete the inventory, and then we will move to actual construction when we replace service lines. At that point, we'll have to expend the funds within the 5 years. We'll know exactly what is left, if anything, or we will be done. And at that point, and at several points along the way, I'm sure, we will update the city council, let them know how it's going. And if we complete the project, hopefully that will be the news that we share. Or if we have some small amount remaining, we'll update you with that once we know it. So obviously we are respectfully requesting the authority to borrow $2.31 million to complete this project. Thank you very much.